Jurassic World Rebirth was a little bit better than okay. I'm not gonna lie or hate upon it. It was better than mid. It's actually the best of the new trilogy of Jurassic Park films that have come out, which is not saying much, but it was the best of the three so far. So before we get into our spoiler-filled review / synopsis of Jurassic Park Rebirth, I'm gonna need you guys to make sure that you like, comment, and share this video around. Please support this page and support me on all my other platforms. And if you're watching this on IG or TikTok, drop me a follow. So before we get into our very spoiler-filled review, let me just tell you, if you're wondering what is the plot of this movie, well, I can tell you that it's the same exact plot as the two films that preceded it. So here's the plot. There is a genetically altered dinosaur that has been developed, and guess what? Nobody can control it. And you'll never believe this. This new dinosaur has been developed from the DNA of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Like, they didn't learn their lesson from the Indominus Rex, so obviously what happened there was definitely a fluke. There's no way that this new dinosaur that they've developed is going to get out of control. Also, the first big bad is revealed, and it is a Snickers bar. Not only is it the most racist sounding candy name that you can think of, especially if you say it slow, but this one little Snickers wrapper ends up closing down a multi-trillion-dollar facility making experimental animals, and it leads to the release of the dreaded D-Rex. Let's go to the beginning of the movie. So the main character, of course, is Scarlett Johansson. She's called Zora in this film, and this big corporation comes up to her. They send out a representative. Of course, he is a stereotypical white businessman who's super selfish, and he tries to appeal to Scarlett Johansson's female nature by telling her, you could save lives if you help us to collect these DNA samples from these dinosaurs. And she's like, nah fam, I don't care about that. How much you paying? And they agree upon a very high dollar amount because Zora is basically saying, hey, if I do this job, I ain't never trying to work again. And she has a very sympathetic reason that is very stereotypical. She lost a friend on another expedition, so she's still sad about that. And so as soon as she secures the bag, they start talking to an actual archaeologist who is kind of like the nerdy but also charming comic relief of the actual film. He also serves sort of as like a love interest for Zora, but nothing really develops. The chemistry really is not there in this film.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you.
We don't care.
Jerry.
What actually happens next is that in order to go to this dangerous part of the earth where these dangerous dinosaurs are, of which the businessman very purposely neglects to tell them that there are experimental creatures on this island, they have to go get a crew. And so while they're getting a crew, Scarlett Johansson, Zora, she links up with her old buddy, her old pal, Mahershala Ali, who runs the boat. He's their transportation there and their transportation back. They finesse the business dude into paying them double the money so that everybody could get paid and that all of them don't ever have to work again. Spoiler alert, a lot of them don't need to ever worry about working again because the dinosaurs eat them. Now they get out onto the boat and they're heading toward the land where the dinosaurs are on the equator or whatever. Before they arrive there, you like, comment, share, and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and drop me a follow if you're watching this on TikTok or on IG. And then what happens is there's like a side B plot of like a Spanish family. They are just out on their sailboat and they run into the dinosaurs before the people who are looking for the dinosaurs with Zora actually find the dinosaurs that they're looking for. They have to secure 3 dinosaurs. Anyway, they get shipwrecked by the Mesosaurus, but somehow it doesn't eat them even when a very annoying young man falls into the water. And speaking about this young man, yo, I did not like him at all. I was hoping that they was gonna kill him and he somehow survived. But getting back to the film, they end up calling for help, and because, you know, Mahershala Ali, he had a very sad backstory where he lost a child. He's like, there's a family out there, we've got to help them. I'm turning the boat around. So he turns the boat around, they get them, they help them, and they say, hey, you know, we're not deviating from our mission. We did pick you up, and don't worry about it. There's gonna be a whole village you can radio for help or get a lift back home when we get to the island. Not letting the family know that this island is full of dangerous dinosaurs, and surprisingly, although there is a facility there where people once were able to interact and live, nobody else lives there. What happens next is the best sequence in the movie, is when the Mesosaurus teams up with the Spinosauruses and they start attacking the boat. And it ends up in our crew getting shipwrecked. The Latino family ends up getting off the boat. The young lady gets thrown off the boat and the rest of the family follows her. And they get to land, and their big plan is, let's follow these pipes to civilization, which is not a bad plan. The only thing is that the dad is hurt, or so I thought. Actually, the dad must have like a healing factor like Wolverine, because what ends up happening is that he breaks his leg, or at least tells his daughter that his leg is hurt while he's on the boat when they're getting tossed around at sea, and that he can't feel his leg. But somehow this leg functions when he gets in the water well enough for him to swim back to land. Then he walks like 27 miles in the jungle trying to follow these pipes and only needs a walking stick. But conveniently, they find a river raft right next to a sleeping T-Rex that opens up and wakes up this sleeping T-Rex. Now, I don't know if this T-Rex was drowsy, maybe took some ZzzQuil, or perhaps maybe this T-Rex was very old. What ends up happening is this T-Rex is ridiculously slow. And for some reason, this T-Rex doesn't have enough bite force to bite through a plastic raft. And it does not catch our Latino family. In fact, they're getting away, they're paddling so hard. The last time I saw a Latino family paddle so hard on a boat, they were fleeing from Cuba to start a life illegally in Florida. But anyway, the family does survive the attack of the T-Rex. The little girl even gets like a little dino partner, and that dino partner is clutch. Like, he knows what's up, and he be looking at them like, yo, y'all need to get up out of here. All right, y'all not leaving? Y'all want to figure out what's going on? Y'all want to aura farm? Well, I'm up out of here. When it comes to this family, they survive and they do rendezvous with the rest of the crew. High key, the dad from the family was the best actor in the whole movie. Now, our main crew that includes Zora and Mahershala Ali, you may notice that there are other people here on the boat, but I'm really not going to talk about them, with the exception of one member. Because let's face it, if you don't have a name and you're not a main character in this story, you're going to die. So what happens is they lose 2 crew members at sea, and then after they get to land, they say, well, we're going to continue with the mission and get to a part of the actual island where we can get rescued, because Zora thought ahead. She said, I already paid some people to come with a helicopter later. They got to come by tomorrow, and if we're there at the helipad, then they'll pick everybody up and we can get off this island with all the dinosaurs.
Oh, say less.
So what they do is they ended up getting the sample of the Mesosaurus before they got shipwrecked and crashed up on the beach. And so now they need to find this dinosaur that looks like the Brachiosaurus. Now, when it comes to this animal, I don't know what they was thinking, but like this was like a whole Riz section. You had the male Brachiosaurus rizzing up the female Brachiosaurus. It was like Makeout Cove over there. The Riz was on 10 because these dinosaurs was hooking up. It was like the prequel to The Land Before Time. I think this was the night that Littlefoot got conceived. Next, after that, they had to go find this bird. Now, this bird, it looked like a pterodactyl, and they ended up getting a sample from the embryo, its eggs, but they had to climb into the nest. Of course, they got caught and they almost got killed by this pterodactyl-like creature, and he ate the French dude that never spoke English who was black. First off, shout outs to the islands, but they got my mans up out of here. I mean, I don't even know why they even kept pulling up the rope, because he was already gone. My man was already in Skypiea at the Bob Marley concert with special guests Pop Smoke and Juice WRLD. My man was at the Carnival in the sky. And, you know, I do want to say I knew that he was going to die because he never spoke English. Like, we had no bond with him. Like, I don't even think they even gave him a name in this actual film. But he was literally, he got caught up on the mountain, getting pulled back up. The bird was already eating him when they pulled him back up with the rope. Anyway, they find a way to get away from this pterodactyl, and we get into the final act of the movie, and surprise, surprise, they meet up with the Latino family, our main crew. The Latino girl, she wants to kill the white businessman because I didn't mention this before, but he saw her slipping off the boat and was content to let her drown because he didn't want the authorities to be alerted that they were going to a forbidden island. So he had his mind on business, respectfully. Can't say that I wouldn't have thought to do the same if I was in his shoes. Not gonna lie, that teenage girl and her boyfriend were the worst part of the movie. And unfortunately, my prayers went unanswered because they survived all the way to the end against all odds. Now we get into the mutated dinosaurs. So there's like this other pterodactyl raptor-like creature that was actually the second best scene. It was literally tracking down the family, trying to eat up everyone. It even got up into the vents. And somehow the dad of the Latino family, like, he made a full recovery. Like, he was crawling events. He was full John McClane from Die Hard. But what ended up happening, ended up getting caught by one of these pterodactyl-like raptor creatures, and Scarlett Johansson, yo, she turned into the Black Widow. She made this thing look like Swiss cheese. She blasted it with the Glock dookie at least like 10 times. It was like she was the police and that creature was like a black man doing regular errands. Like, she just filled it with holes. It was crazy when she did that, but it had a friend. These creatures also hunt in packs, and they were able to escape from it only to run into the main mutant, the big bad of the whole film. And let me just tell you, this dinosaur was just straight up an abomination. This guy was ugly. They call it the D-Rex. I know, super revolutionary, big brain. I don't know how they came up with the name the D-Rex instead of the T-Rex. The scientists probably looked at that big fat dome and just said, that's it, I got it. We gotta call this thing the D-Rex. D for dome. These guys are geniuses that wrote this film. And when it came to this creature, not only did it have a big dome, I mean, it looked like a T-Rex mixed with Nemesis from Resident Evil. This D-Rex's head was so big, I thought I was watching Code Lyoko. It was just like more forehead than dinosaur. And it had 4 arms, and it used one of those arms to like punch a car to hurt our businessman, who, surprise, surprise, found a way to get a gun and threaten everybody when everyone caught on that he was really the bad guy and a selfish person. Then the businessman had a stroke of genius. He decided to handcuff the suitcase with all the dino samples up in it to his arm. And of course, the D-Rex, when he got to him, he ate everything but that arm, so that, you know, our heroes could make away with the samples and do something noble with those samples to help the world. Surprisingly, at the end of this movie, Mahershala Ali, his character, does make a noble sacrifice to help everyone get away from the D-Rex. But instead of dying heroically, he actually does survive. And what would have been cool is if they would have had the Mesosaurus, the first, actually come and eat him up. That would have been like a crazy ending. That would have really shocked me. But of course, it's a happy ending. They all make it back to Elan. Now, as for my score for this movie, out of 10, I'm going to be generous and give it a 6 out of 10. But I will say the thing that I felt hurt this film the most was the actual dialogue. The writing of the dialogue was terrible. This was your average Disney, Marvel, quippy, woke, stupid jokes at inappropriate times that don't hit comedy. It was like whoever has been writing the new Marvel films, whatever man or machine has been doing this, wrote the dialogue for this film. It was dry, it was corny, I did not like it, I hated it. But when it comes to these films, I'm not expecting an award-winning performance from the actors. All I want to see is dinosaurs do crazy stuff, give me intense scenes with the dinosaurs, and I feel like this film delivered on that at least. So if you've seen this film, let me know in the comment section what you thought of this film, and let me know what would you rate it. Make sure that you like, comment, and share this video. Please subscribe if you're on YouTube, and please drop me a follow if you're watching this on IG and TikTok. And like I always say, I shall see you in the next one.